Welcome to our YouTube channel, where we explore with you the most important truths about health, longevity, and living a meaningful life in your later years. I am Jessica Lane, your host today, and I should tell you up front that today's topic may come as a surprise to many. I am sure you have already heard about the keto diet, low carbs, high fat, praised as a miracle for weight loss, even recommended by some doctors. But is it truly safe for older adults, especially for those living with high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease? Could following keto the wrong way quietly damage the heart and even shorten life expectancy? That is the question we are going to explore together in today's conversation. Sitting next to me is a very special guest, Dr. Eugene, a cardiometabolic expert with more than 30 years of experience working with older patients. He has helped thousands of seniors discover eating patterns that actually work while living with chronic illness. Dr. Eugene, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Jessica, for inviting me. I am truly looking forward to this conversation because there are far too many misconceptions out there. Keto is a powerful tool, but if it is applied the wrong way, especially in people over 60 who already struggle with insulin resistance or heart disease, the consequences can be very serious.
Yes, exactly. I actually tried keto myself for a few months last year. I did lose weight, but soon I was constantly tired, mentally foggy, and my heart would race after meals. I thought I was doing something good for my health. We have all heard so many claims about keto, from rapid weight loss to blood sugar control, even boosting brain function. But the deeper I looked, the more questions I had. And honestly, at any age, but especially in older adults, the wrong eating plan can severely affect heart health, life expectancy, and the quality of everyday living. So where do we begin to untangle all this, doctor? Can you help us understand more clearly what keto really is and why it has become so popular, particularly among older adults?
Absolutely. Keto, short for ketogenic, is a diet that is very low in carbohydrates, moderate in protein, and very high in fat. The goal is to push the body into a state called ketosis, where instead of using glucose for energy, the body begins burning fat and producing ketones as an alternative fuel source. This diet became popular because of its visible weight loss results, especially during the first few weeks. Many people also report feeling mentally sharper and less hungry, which is very appealing, particularly for older adults trying to manage weight or blood sugar.
And it was exactly those benefits that made many people, including myself, believe this might be the key to better health. But then I started hearing about cases of heart problems, irregular heart rhythms, even effects on the brain due to lack of glucose. That made me question whether keto is truly safe for everyone, or if it carries hidden risks that most people are not aware of.
Jessica, you are not the only one with those concerns, and they are very valid. The issue is not the keto diet itself, but who is doing it and how it is being done. Once we cross the age of 60, the body begins to lose flexibility in energy metabolism. Insulin levels change, blood sugar control becomes weaker, and many cells, especially in the heart and brain, still depend heavily on glucose. If someone shifts into ketosis without proper medical supervision, it can easily lead to an energy shortage in these critical organs. The result may be ongoing fatigue, dizziness, rapid heartbeat, and in some cases, an increased risk of heart attack.
And that is exactly what I think our viewers need to know. Because right now, so many people are trying keto, hoping to improve their health, but they may not realize they are unknowingly putting themselves in danger.
Exactly. And I am very glad we have the chance today to discuss this openly and seriously. Keto can bring benefits, but it is not for everyone, especially not for those already living with heart disease, diabetes, or metabolic disorders.
Excellent. So in this next part, I really want to ask you, doctor, specifically, how does keto affect the heart and the vascular system? And can it actually lead to serious consequences, such as atherosclerosis, heart damage, or even early death? But before we go deeper into the negative side, it may be very helpful if you could explain more clearly for our viewers, what does a proper keto diet really look like? Is it simply eating a lot of meat and cutting out rice and bread?
That is a very good question, and it is something I hear often from patients. Keto is a diet that is extremely low in carbohydrates, usually less than 20 to 50 grams per day, combined with a high intake of fat and a moderate amount of protein. The idea is that when you cut carbs, the body is forced to use fat as fuel and begins producing ketones. These ketones then replace glucose, which is normally the primary energy source from starches, sugars, and fruits.
So, if I follow keto correctly, instead of using sugar for energy, my body will be burning fat.
Exactly. And because of that, many people can lose weight rapidly in the first few weeks. They often feel fuller for longer, have fewer sugar cravings, and in some cases feel mentally sharper. In addition, some early studies show that keto may help improve blood sugar, reduce fatty liver, and improve insulin control, especially in people with prediabetes or mild type 2 diabetes.
I suppose that explains why so many people, especially older adults, see keto as a fast-track solution. Because at a certain age, everyone wants to optimize their health without wasting time on trial and error. And if a diet promises better blood sugar control, weight loss, and even longer life, it is easy to believe in it.
I completely understand. And the truth is, in some cases, under medical supervision, keto can indeed be a very useful therapeutic tool. For example, in drug-resistant epilepsy, doctors may prescribe keto as a way to control seizures, and the results can be very positive. Or in people with obesity or early-stage type 2 diabetes, when carefully monitored, keto can help reduce weight and improve biological markers much faster than many other diets.
The problem is, in real life, not everyone has a doctor by their side every time they plan a meal. And to be honest, I see so many people, both online and offline, following keto in a very careless way. They eat meat, eggs, cheese, and cut out almost all starchy vegetables. They do not measure insulin, they do not check ketones, and many of them have no idea about the biology behind ketosis.
And that is exactly when keto turns from a healing diet into a serious health risk. The danger is this, Jessica. When we almost completely remove carbohydrates, which are the main source of energy for both the brain and the heart, what happens? In younger people, the body is still flexible, enzyme and hormone systems can adapt. But in older adults, especially those with insulin resistance or a history of heart disease, forcing the body into ketosis can lead to metabolic disturbances, energy shortages in heart muscle cells, and an increased risk of heart failure or stroke.
Not to mention the common side effects such as dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, constipation, and trouble sleeping. I remember during my first month of trying keto, I lost weight very quickly, but I felt exhausted, irritable, and my mind was covered in a kind of fog.
That is what we call keto flu, a flu-like syndrome that happens when the body shifts from using glucose to using ketones. Some people can push through it after a few days, but many older adults cannot. The unfortunate part is they often think this is a sign of detox, when in reality, the body is crying out because it is not getting enough energy.
Honestly, I used to feel as if I was making an effort for my health, but my body was reacting in the opposite way. And I believe many of our viewers today have gone through something similar. They only want to feel healthier and lighter, but they may not realize keto can be a double-edged sword if it's done the wrong way.
You are absolutely right. And that is why I always emphasize to my patients that no diet is suitable for everyone. Before starting any approach, especially keto, it is critical to understand your metabolic status, your heart function, and your insulin levels.
We have already discussed why keto became so popular. And yes, for younger, healthier people or those under medical supervision, it may bring certain benefits. But I want to go deeper into another side of this story. How does keto really affect the heart, the blood vessels, and the metabolism of older adults?
This is the part I believe many people have never really heard explained clearly. The heart is an organ that consumes a tremendous amount of energy, and most of that energy comes from glucose. When you are on keto, the body has to use ketones in place of glucose. In theory, that sounds fine. But in older adults, especially those with type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, or metabolic syndrome, or a history of heart disease and heart attack, forcing the body into ketosis can create a serious energy shortage for the heart muscle cells.
You mean the heart may not have enough fuel to pump blood effectively?
Exactly. When glucose is lacking, heart muscle cells contract less strongly. Arrhythmias are more likely, and over time, this can lead to congestive heart failure. A recent study in the journal Circulation showed that adults over 60 who followed a very low-carb diet without good control of blood glucose and lipids had a 25% higher risk of developing early atherosclerosis.
Wow. I think many people watching this right now will be shocked to hear that, because for so many, keto seems like the way out of diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure.
And that can be true, but only under strict medical supervision. The reality is, most people today follow keto through blogs, YouTube videos, or word of mouth without knowing that keto can increase LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, cause inflammation of the endothelium, and raise homocysteine, which is another cardiovascular risk factor. In addition, if someone follows an extreme form of keto and cuts out most vegetables and fruits, the body will become deficient in B vitamins, potassium, magnesium, and fiber, all of which are critical for protecting heart health.
I remember when I tried a so-called clean keto version, eating mostly beef, eggs, cheese, and butter. After only a few weeks, I began to notice my heart racing at night, shallow breathing, and sometimes even feeling short of breath without doing anything strenuous.
Those are early warning signs, but they are very easy to overlook. I once treated a 67-year-old patient who only had mild high blood pressure. He followed keto for 6 months, lost over 20 pounds, and his blood sugar improved. But he did not realize his LDL had doubled and his triglycerides had climbed into a dangerous range. In the end, he was hospitalized with chest pain and diagnosed with severe coronary atherosclerosis.
That is truly frightening, and it is clear that keto is not just about food choices. It is something that requires serious monitoring and medical evaluation.
I completely agree. And especially for older adults, before making major changes to their diet, it is important to start with the following tests: fasting insulin, HbA1c, which reflects average blood sugar over 3 months, a full lipid profile, including LDL, HDL, and triglycerides, and CRP, or HSCRP, which measures systemic inflammation. Only when you understand your current condition can you know whether keto is truly safe for you.
Doctor, you have helped us understand the hidden risks of the keto diet, especially for older adults. Now I want to get into a very practical question. Who are the people who should not follow keto, or at the very least must be extremely cautious?
That is a very important question, because right now, far too many people are trying keto casually without realizing that their body type or medical history makes them unsuitable for this diet. Here are the groups I usually warn when they ask me about keto. People with type 1 diabetes. This is the group that must absolutely never attempt keto on their own. Because they do not produce insulin, going into deep ketosis can easily lead to diabetic ketoacidosis, a life-threatening emergency if not treated quickly. People with a history of heart disease or coronary artery disease. Keto can raise LDL, triglycerides, and trigger vascular inflammation if not carefully monitored. In particular, if someone has already had a heart attack, has stents, or has arrhythmias, then a diet high in saturated fat can worsen their cardiovascular condition. Older adults with insulin resistance or undiagnosed prediabetes. Many do not realize they have insulin resistance because they have never checked fasting insulin or HbA1c. When they go on keto, blood sugar may drop, but insulin remains high in the background, putting stress on the pancreas, the heart, and the vascular system. People with liver, kidney, or thyroid disease. Keto increases the production of ketones, and the liver and kidneys must work harder to eliminate them. If someone already has mild kidney impairment or thyroid disorders, consuming too much fat and protein can make their condition worse.
I think many people watching will be very surprised by this list, because up until now, we have mostly heard that keto is clean eating, cutting sugar, so how could it possibly be dangerous?
That is the most common misunderstanding today. We are living in an age where information spreads faster than medical knowledge. One blog post or a TikTok video can be enough for someone to completely change their diet without having any understanding of the complex biological reactions taking place in their body.
And perhaps the most important step before starting keto is that each person should check their own biological markers, correct?
Exactly. Anyone over 50 who is considering keto should, at the very least, test these four things. HbA1c, to evaluate average blood sugar over 3 months. Fasting insulin, to check for insulin resistance. A lipid profile, including LDL, HDL, and triglycerides. Liver and kidney function markers, such as AST, ALT, and creatinine. And most importantly, if someone has chronic conditions or is on medication, they must never attempt keto on their own without guidance from a medical specialist.
Thank you, doctor. That is truly valuable information. And next, I want to go deeper into a topic you mentioned, which I believe many in our audience will find very familiar, the misunderstanding around so-called healthy foods. Personally, I used to believe that simply eating more fruit, choosing low-fat milk, or switching from white rice to whole grain bread meant I was eating correctly. But recently I learned that for people with insulin resistance, those foods that seem good may actually be harmful. Could you explain this more clearly?
Your question is very timely. In fact, one of the most common mistakes I see in older patients is that they follow general dietary guidelines that do not match their own metabolic condition. For example, fruit such as bananas, grapes, and mangoes contain a lot of fructose, which can quickly raise blood sugar and insulin, especially when eaten alone without fat or protein. Whole grains sound healthy, but they are still carbohydrates. For someone with insulin resistance, they cause blood sugar to rise more slowly but stay elevated longer, forcing the pancreas to release insulin continuously. Low-fat milk often has its natural fat removed and replaced with sugar or sweeteners, which raise insulin even higher than whole milk.
That truly surprises me, doctor. We have always been taught that fruit is a gift from nature and that the more we eat, the better. But now it seems not everyone should eat fruit so freely.
That is correct. I am not saying fruit is bad, but for people with metabolic disorders, especially those with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, eating too much sweet fruit can cause blood sugar to spike. This forces the pancreas to release large amounts of insulin, and when insulin stays elevated over time, it can promote the buildup of visceral fat, thicken the blood vessel walls, which sets the stage for atherosclerosis, and trigger chronic low-grade inflammation throughout the body. All of these factors raise the risk of cardiovascular disease much earlier.
So in other words, for older adults, healthy eating is not just about what we eat, but also how we eat and how we monitor the body's response, correct?
Exactly. I often advise my patients to check their blood sugar after meals, because that shows clearly whether a particular food works for them or not. Today, there are continuous glucose monitoring devices, or CGMs, that allow people to see exactly how each food affects their body. A fruit that may be good for one person could cause dangerous blood sugar spikes in another.
And that is why we need to change the way we think. There are no absolute good foods or bad foods. There are only foods that are or are not appropriate for each individual.
I completely agree. And from that very mindset, we come to our next part, how to personalize nutrition for older adults, especially those who are already on keto or are considering it.
We have just heard something very important. There are no absolutely good or bad foods. What matters is how the body responds. So, doctor, how can older adults personalize their diet, especially those with cardiovascular risk or metabolic issues?
I am glad you asked this. If there is one thing I want everyone to remember after today's discussion, it is this. A healthy diet must be based on personal health data. Specifically, the personalization process should begin with 3 steps. Step 1. Assess metabolic status. Test HbA1c to evaluate average blood sugar over 3 months. Check fasting insulin and HOMA-IR to detect insulin resistance. Measure total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, and triglycerides.
Evaluate inflammation and liver function with HSCRP, ALT, and AST. Step 2. Monitor how the body responds to food. Use a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, for at least 2 weeks. Keep a food journal to track which meals cause the greatest blood sugar spikes. Pay attention to symptoms after eating, such as rapid heartbeat, fatigue, drowsiness, or shortness of breath. Step 3. Adjust diet based on personal data. If sweet fruits raise glucose too much, switch to berries. If saturated fats raise LDL, prioritize olive oil and fatty fish. If complex carbs still raise insulin, combine them with fiber and healthy fat to blunt the blood sugar spike.
So it sounds like each person should have a kind of personal metabolic profile, almost like a customized food map for their own body.
Exactly. And the good news is that today's technology makes this easier than ever. You can use apps to track nutrition and blood sugar, you can do metabolic testing at home, and you can work with a nutritionist to personalize your meals based on your actual blood markers.
And if an older adult does want to start keto, how should they begin to make sure it is safe?
This is the roadmap I usually recommend. First, do a comprehensive blood panel as we just discussed. Second, consult with an endocrinologist or cardiologist. Third, do not start with an extreme version of keto. Begin with a moderate low-carb plan. Fourth, prioritize healthy fats such as olive oil, avocados, and salmon. Fifth, after 1 month, check blood sugar, lipids, and body symptoms again. If all markers remain stable, only then consider moving deeper into ketosis, and always under medical supervision.
I see this as a completely different way of thinking compared to just following the latest diet trend. Instead of asking, what should I eat to be healthy, perhaps the better question is, how does my body respond to this food?
Important once you are past 60. The older we get, the more unique and vulnerable our bodies become. At that point, no two people are alike anymore.
We have taken a very valuable journey today, from the misconceptions about keto to the hidden risks for those with underlying health issues, and finally, to how personalizing diet can help us live healthier and longer. Dr. Eugene, if you could only share 3 of the most important pieces of advice with our older audience, many of whom have already suffered a heart attack or are worried about the next one, what would those be?
Jessica, that is a very practical question. At this stage of life, heart health is no longer a choice. It is the top priority. Let me share 3 core principles. 1. Eat to reduce inflammation and nourish your blood vessels, not just to lose weight. Many people go on keto for weight loss, but they overlook inflammation, which is the silent driver of atherosclerosis and heart attacks. Instead, focus on leafy greens, berries, and fatty fish that are rich in antioxidants. Use extra virgin olive oil instead of animal fat. Limit refined sugar and white flour. 2. Control blood sugar and insulin, the key to preventing the next heart attack. A strong heart cannot survive if insulin is constantly high and blood sugar is swinging up and down. Research shows that insulin resistance is as powerful a risk factor for heart disease as smoking. Aim to keep HbA1c under 5.6%. Monitor HOMIR. Avoid eating carbohydrates alone, always pair them with fiber and healthy fats. 3. Gentle movement and enough sleep, the 2 free medicines for the heart. Just 30 minutes of brisk walking a day can lower cardiovascular mortality by up to 35%. Combined with deep, restorative sleep, this helps stabilize blood pressure, reduce arrhythmias, and support natural recovery of the heart muscle.
Wonderful. I believe our audience is not looking for miracle cures. What they need are simple, practical, and science-based recommendations like the ones you shared today. Before we close, I want to ask you something from your personal experience. Has anyone ever overcome the risk of a heart attack simply through lifestyle and dietary changes?
Absolutely, and those are always the cases that move me the most. I clearly remember a 74-year-old gentleman who was hospitalized after a mild heart attack. His diet was the typical American pattern: white bread, sausages, and soda every day. We started with small changes.
He ate more vegetables, fish, and olive oil. He cut back on sugar and refined carbohydrates. He walked gently every morning and afternoon. He took his medications as prescribed and regularly monitored his lipids and insulin. After 8 months, his heart recovered well. His echocardiogram showed improved ejection fraction. His HbA1c and lipid levels returned to safe ranges. And most importantly, he lived with joy, without the fear of another heart attack hanging over him.
That is truly an inspiring way to end. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope today's conversation has given you more knowledge, confidence, and a clear direction for caring for your heart. Whether you have already experienced a heart attack or simply want to reduce your risk, please share this video with your loved ones. And remember this: a healthy heart does not come from extremes. It comes from the right understanding and consistent action. See you again on our YouTube channel, where we will continue to stand by your heart every step of the way.